and welcome to episode 114 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this episode is being brought to you through the generous support of Kevin Spa, one of our leading Patreon supporters. You too can be like Kevin and help us with the show by pledging any amount from $1 upwards per month. Simply go to www.patreon.com/onthebench. And in this week's show, we've got our usual mailbag. The Falcon has written in to let us know about new kits coming out. But we're going to be having a chat about selling your model kits. Do you do that? Is it something you want to do? Have you ever done it in the past? We can discuss all that and more in the show. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor. Established in 2016, the Scale Modeler Supply has developed a comprehensive range of premium acrylic lacquer paints designed specifically with the scale modeler in mind. Certified Australian made, SMS paints are tough and durable with a fast drying time that have been designed to use straight from the bottle, taking all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake and spray. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, aircraft, cars, train, science fiction or gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have a colour to suit you. SMS products are available through a trusted network of stores across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, the US, and are also now available for the first time in the UK through From Model Centre. Check the SMS website at www.scalemodeler.com.au to find your closest stockist. These paints are on my bench and I use them all the time, so I know that you will not be disappointed. And hello and welcome to the show, Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day Julian, g'day listeners.
And Julian.
Yeah, good morning.
Man, what a week.
Absolutely crazy.
Oh, jeez. We had this huge storm that ripped through Melbourne and caused flooding out into the east of the state. And a huge windstorm hit out around the hills area of Metro Melbourne. And gosh, there must have been there's over 8,000 jobs that were created through the entire event statewide. And I've just been flat out working at various incident control centres around the state, and I'm back now for a 2-day break, and then off again on Wednesday, back into it again. It's just going.
No rest of the wicked.
No. So I'd just like to take the opportunity to actually dedicate this episode to all the volunteers out there and the emergency services workers who have given up so much time and put in so much effort over the last, just coming up now for 7 days. Unfortunately, we've had 2 deaths in the state where a couple of people got caught in floodwaters, which is always extremely tragic. And just seeing the work that's being done out there just really humbles me. So this is dedicated to them, and in fact we've got a couple of modelers who actually are emergency services workers and do listen into the show, so I know a couple of them, so g'day guys, I know who you are, and thanks for listening. So that's been my week, man. Ian, let's talk about modelling stuff. What have you been up to this week?
Not modelling stuff.
Oh really?
No. It's been nice weather here, so I've been getting a fair bit of yard work done.
How can it have been nice weather?
Oh, yesterday.
Yesterday wasn't too bad, was it?
Yeah, today's nice too.
Yeah, today is nice, actually.
I'm back to doing yard work again.
What were you doing during the storm?
Me, not great deal. I had no power.
How long did you have power out for?
A couple of days.
Yeah, Michelle's mum and dad up in Cockatoo, which is up in the hills region, they were without power for 4 days.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Michelle had to do a run up there and take some kerosene for the little kerosene heater.
Yep. And generator sales went crazy.
Yeah, it's just been crazy.
Mm.
Julian, what about you?
Yeah, I was. I've been sort of chipping away at this FX hurricane, not doing a whole lot until yesterday when parcel. I realized that a parcel was on my doorstep with some little aftermarket things I needed for it. I'd intended to sort of build it out of the box, but FX didn't provide any kind of seat belts. And so I had to, get there's just a little tiny photo etch set that just has seatbelts on it. So I was like, yeah, I'll get that. It's a couple of bucks, whatever. And I'll get a canopy mask, and that'll be it.
Where'd you get the seatbelts from?
B&O.
No, the brand.
Eduard, I believe.
No, okay.
Yeah. So I threw the seatbelts on it last night, and I would have done a bit more, but it was just the flash of motivation decided to appear pretty late at night, like an hour before I probably should have gone to bed. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that much and then I'll go to bed. I know. I wish it had sort of appear a bit earlier in the day so that I could have done some airbrushing. But
yeah, I know how you feel. I mean, my mojo just completely been sapped. I've put away that ship that I was doing because I've just lost all interest in that. And we had a listener write in who told me to crack on with that Hella kit for the water bomber, the Canadian war bomber, CL-15, I think it is. CL-415 aircraft. And that's just sitting on my bench, and I've just got no energy whatsoever to do that. I'm just exhausted, man. So I don't know. I've got the rest of today off and tomorrow, so I'll see whether I can get anything sort of excited and move forward, but it's not looking good at the moment.
You'll get it back.
Yeah, I'm not too phased. At all.
Well, prior to this, you were unbelievably productive. So, I mean, maybe this is the price you're paying.
Yeah.
Went a bit too hard there, Dave.
Well, I'm in a couple of build groups. So, the Plastic Posse podcast, they've got about 3 build groups running on Facebook. One is for a T-34, which I'm hunting around for some tracks so I can finish that off, some aftermarket tracks. They've also got one for Star Wars for the TIE Fighter, and I've bought a couple of TIE Fighters, so I might crack into that actually and have a go at that. So
it's something quick and easy to get you back in.
Yeah. And speaking of Plastic Posse podcasts, we really like you guys to go and have a listen to all the other scale model podcasts out there. We got Scale Model Podcast with Stuart and Jeff out of Canada. Plastic Model Mojo with Mike and Dave out of Kentucky. The Plastic Posse Podcast with Scott, TJ, Doug and John. Model Geeks Podcast, Darren, Scott, Whitey and Frildo, of course. And Just Making Conversation with Malcolm and Jamie. Go and have a listen to all those other podcasts. While you're there, on whatever app that you listen to your podcast on, leave a star rating for those podcasts. It just helps with the data analytics and pushes the podcasts about scale modeling to the top of the list, and just helps other people find the shows, which is really good. The other news I've got that relates to all of the shows is that the Great Moosaroo Cup is back, and this is going to encompass all of the scale modeling podcasts. So a huge thanks to Alan Murrell from IPMS Hamilton for organising that, and Lightspeed Global, which is a model shop / company. They're going to be providing the kit for us all to build. Not sure exactly what the kit's going to be yet, but we'll find out. So pop over and have a look at Lightspeed Global at www.lsghobby.com, just as a way of saying thanks and supporting them as well. And thanks to Alan Murrell for all the work that he's doing around that. So
True.
The gauntlet is being thrown down to all the other podcasts.
Hey, you got to step up, Dave.
Yeah, I've got to build this time, don't I?
Mm.
Well, I've got to wait and see what the kit is. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm extremely nervous.
Yeah, you'll knock it out of the ballpark.
Oh, well, we'll see. We've okay. Well, Julian, you're talking about what stuff you've bought. Have you bought any other stuff this week?
No, it was only that. Like I didn't really want to make that purchase, but I needed to crack on with this hurricane, so I just put the oil through. Came in a very small box, you know. It's just like, you know, those typical like Edward small things that they have all their canopy masks and photo wet sheets in, those little slip
Yes.
type plastic bags. Yeah. It was like a couple of those, and that was it, you know.
Ian, you been buying any new stuff?
No, not a thing.
Oh, geez.
That's good.
Yeah, that's been nearly 4 weeks since I've actually made a modelling purchase.
You know what? It's coming close to that for me as well. I haven't purchased anything either.
Mind you, my B&A shopping cart's quite full at the moment.
Well, you just pull the trigger and grab it all.
Yeah, I will once I've paid my registration on my car.
Ah, fair enough. Well, I haven't purchased anything at
There's
all.
a new Edward Mustang out too.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, in RAF service.
Oh, okay.
Comes with a nice 112 squadron with Sharks T.
Yep.
And is it number 3 Australian squadron with the light blue tail and the Southern Cross?
And they flew in Italy, didn't they?
Correct.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm pretty over that scheme. Maybe it's just because it's actually local to us, but I just see it way too much.
Yeah, this one's actually not camouflage; it's bare metal.
well, that's a bit of an interesting one then.
Same as the Sharks Teeth 112 squadron's bare metal too.
Well, I haven't purchased anything either. I'm still hanging out for the release in Australia of the new Tamiya Phantom. I'm quite keen to pick that up. I've been listening to the Model Geeks, and they've been talking about like a bunch of giddy schoolgirls about how wonderful the kit is. So I'm going to pull the trigger on that when it finally lands in the country. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, you've built a Phantom, haven't you, Julian? You did in Vietnam
Yeah, I
colours.
Yes.
Southeast Asia camouflage pattern.
Yeah, I would have preferred to build a Tamiya kit, but at the time it didn't exist, obviously.
Oh, these guys over there, so Darren Scott, Whitey and Frildo, they're just gushing about it. I reckon it's just absolutely gorgeous. So, yeah, I think I've got to get one as well.
Why not? I mean, don't you have plans to build like an Aussie one at some point or something?
Yeah, that one won't build the Aussie one. I need a later model for that, so
Yeah.
we'll wait and see. But I thought I'd just cut my teeth on. I've always liked the US Navy, all the, you know, not the because not camouflage really, it's just a plain sort of greyish colour, but some of the tail art's pretty good on those US naval squadrons. I reckon it's pretty cool. And the back spine too sometimes.
See, I like the Japanese boxings that you often see like Hasegawa boxings for, but you know, obviously you wouldn't actually buy the Hasegawa boxing.
Oh, in particular, yeah, the Japanese have really released some interesting colour schemes in their F4s, particularly the last 10, 15 years. Some really wild sort of schemes, yeah.
Yeah, like I like the two-tone blue.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that two-tone blue. It's really nice. I don't know what it is about it, but it really just sort of captures my eye.
Yeah. Well, should we move into listener mail? Because, guys, we got even more than the last show.
Oh, really?
I got a ton of stuff coming through.
Yeah, well, how many of them are, why isn't my episode of On the Bench released yet?
No, none of those. There's lots of...
seen that flying around Facebook quite a bit.
There's a couple of... There's a lot of bouquets in there, and there's the odd brickbat as well. So we'll read through and see how we go. All right.
No worries.
So Nick Pallett wrote in and he said, thanks for answering his question last episode. He loves the podcast and just wants to clarify that he's listened to episodes 10 all the way through up to 112 within 1 month.
Wow.
So he's up to date. So he sat through and listened to nearly 110 episodes of us rambling on. I thought that was quite funny. So thanks for that, Nick. Ryan Hothsel writes in that he has a modern day incident or conflict. What has a modern day incident or conflict made you think, I might build an aircraft or armoured vehicle that has seen action in such, etc., such as like a local civil war? With the recent incident involving the Ryanair 737 and the Belarusian MiG-29, it's prompted him to dig out his old 1/72nd scale Zvezda MiG-29 and maybe think about doing a variant of that. I can't say because, things like...
Well, this is a pretty stale part of the world as far as conflicts go.
Well, locally here it is, but I mean things like the current Syrian civil war. He's asking that as perhaps a way that's something that sort of grabs us or motivates us.
Yeah, not really. The sort of African and Middle Eastern type conflicts don't really interest me. So yeah, these are never gonna. And like even then, like if there was some kind of incident with China, I don't think I would care about either side of the conflict. Like none of those aircraft really interest me. Like modern stuff, my interest in modern stuff is probably more widespread on armor than it is aircraft. Modern aircraft don't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, it's for me. It's just what sort of grabs me on the day. Really, I can be looking at something and go, "Oh, that's good," and Ian, you're the same, really, aren't you? Except you're
with me mainly with military stuff. My military modelling pretty much tapers off after the Korean War.
Yeah. Oh, interesting thought. Nathan Cogill writes in. Now, remember, Nathan is that young Scottish lad who lives so
yes,
far.
I remember Nathan, yes.
He lives so far north that he can still see Vikings.
Yes.
Greetings to you all. After listening to the most recent episode, I thought you might be interested in my YouTube channel after hearing you talk about Lego Biker and how you wanted to get more young people into the hobby. He's only uploaded the first video due to writing difficulties and technical difficulties, but he's hoping to put more up soon. And he'll be doing some modelling updates, probably with a focus on wargaming stuff. So his channel is going to be called Coghill's HS4 Hobbying, and it's on YouTube. So that's COGHILLHS4. I think his idea, because he's 15 now, so he's been with us since he was about 11 years old, because we've been going for 4 years now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
That doesn't make you feel old. His idea is to try and do a YouTube channel to attract his age group into modelling. So good on you, Nathan. I reckon it's a great initiative, and we'll certainly be following you with interest, and let us know how it's going. Chuck Doherty writes in, I was listening to episode 113 and had a good laugh because just as you were talking about the Special Hobby 148 Boomerang, I was in the middle of masking canopy masks for that kit. So the Special Hobby Boomerang kit and canopy masking, it was Julian's perfect storm of bad. I completely agree with Julian that this is an awful kit, but I love the story of that plane. And this is my scale, so what are you going to do?
I know. I agree. Completely.
While I'm writing, I wanted to...
Times are ahead for me when I start that.
He goes on to say, while I'm writing, I wanted to respond to something you gents said a while back that bothered me. It was discussion of Rivet Counter. To my mind, Rivet Counter is a guy that trashes everyone else's build for some supposed flaws, yet somehow never seems to find the time to build anything himself. Ian described himself as a Rivet Counter, but to my mind, he is just the opposite. A master modeler who nevertheless has nothing but encouragement for those of us still working our way up the curve. Keep up the good work, and I look forward to every episode. That's Chuck Doherty from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh, nice words. Thanks, Chuck. I wouldn't call myself a master modeler, but thank you.
Oh, you do build pretty good models. Brad Belsham writes in, this is directed at you, Ian, in regards to that Canadian armoured car you're building for World War One.
Oh, yeah.
He's saying that he uses Tamiya NATO green lightened with flesh colour and cockpit green, standard yellow and German yellow. He can't tell you the percentages he used because he eyeballed it.
Yeah, well, there's nothing to go off.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's no original paint scheme units left. So, no, that's great.
So his guess is as good as yours.
Well, I've got some pictures here from him as well, so I'll flick that over to you later on, Ian.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much.
No, that one's already dealt with. Sorry, there's so many emails here. I'm sort of working my way through it. All right. Dave, Ian and Julian. This is from Christopher Church regarding the discussion about generalizations and kit manufacturers. Our individual experiences with a kit manufacturer contribute to our opinions. Experiences accumulated over time and build reputation. Reputation and brand recognition drive purchasing decisions. Experienced modelers benefit those new to the hobby with honest input regarding manufacturers or subjects, while at the same time encouraging them to do their own research. An unbiased and experienced modeler commenting on the reputation of a kit manufacturer, good or bad, should not be viewed as a sweeping generalisation. Manufacturers undoubtedly invest in market research and know fairly accurately how they are viewed from the purchaser's perspective. While what's frustrating, especially for anyone who has been in the hobby for some time, is how some established manufacturers continued to perpetuate the cycle of poor quality through re-releases and reboxes. Some would argue that these manufacturers are not advancing the hobby. Thankfully, there are other manufacturers, both established and newcomers, that have demonstrated the commitment to quality and are taking the hobby in new and exciting directions. They are deserving of our praise and recognition. Enjoy listening. Keep up the great content. Christopher Church from Springdale, Arkansas. Another one from Arkansas, USA.
Well
I agree with everything he said.
Yeah, very well put.
I do too.
I mean, like I had to sort of come up with it on the spot. So he had a little more time to think about it than I did, I suppose.
Yeah. It's lazy manufacturers that annoy me, and they annoy me even more so because I've passed over my hard-earned money. But I've got more comments to make on that when we get up to another.
I would also add that I'm not necessarily so sure that all model companies have market research. Like some of them are just, like a handful of people. Like they probably don't have enough staff for market research. And then you got other companies that are, have poor subject choice and little community contact, and you kind of wonder if there's anything going on there, market research wise, because otherwise they'd probably be making some better decisions.
Yeah.
Interesting. Andy Rausch writes in and says, I don't think this is near you guys, but better lock and load just in case. And he's referring to the huge mouse plague that is happening in parts of Australia.
Oh, that's massive, that, isn't it?
Oh, dude, we've copped it. We've had fires. We've had floods. We've had this mouse plague. And, of course, we've got the COVID issue that's been going on as well. So it's been a real couple of years of just bad stuff happening, man.
Yeah, bad.
Anyway. Alan Gills writes in, I had to laugh at this. A while back, Ian and Julian and yourself went splits on a cutting machine. I was wondering if you guys have any advice about them. I'm thinking of getting one so I can depend less on decals and more on painting and marking of stencils. I'm most interested in how small you can go with the lettering. Julian, I'll leave that one for you.
Look, so there's been an update on that. That's another thing I bought. So I recently got a great big roll of cutting material. and it took me a while to get off my ass and actually buy it, but I actually did it. That said, I don't actually have to rely on my own personal experience with this. There's a lot of people in the modeling community who are buying these things now, and the stuff that they're able to do with them is really, really, really cool. Like you'll be able to cut for 48 scale. You'll be able to cut the small code numbering on the tail for your aircraft. It'll do that.
Okay, that small.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That is if you buy the, I think it's Portrait Silhouette 2 or something like that. I forgot what the name of the model is that I bought. But yeah, that one does. Don't buy the cry cut ones because I've seen what happens when people try to push those ones to really small, and it starts rounding off the corners on letters and things like that. It just can't do what the Silhouette one can.
Right.
So
yeah,
have we actually christened ours yet?
No. I've got the stuff there. I'm looking for something to actually work it on. Maybe I'm trying to. Obviously, there's going to be I'm waiting. I don't need to do any of my own work. I'm waiting for someone to throw some work at me.
All right.
Because I doubt it'll happen.
Fair enough. Jade,
either one of you two. You guys can throw something at me, and I'll get to work on that.
Well, I'm pretty comfortable where I am at the moment. So when something comes that I'll need you to do, don't worry, I'll let you know. Because don't forget,
don't wait around. Like if you've actually got something that you have to do, like throw it at me so I can get it done, and then I can cut it out, give it to you, and you can put it in the box with all the rest of your aftermarket.
Hey, dude, I'm in for $100 in this project. So don't worry, I'll let you know when I've got something.
All right.
Jaden writes in, and he's showing some pictures of his HMS Victory that he built, and he's done a really good job on that. His next kit is going to be a 1/72 scale Italeri T-33 Shooting Star, and he's noticed that the canopy has some slight scratching on it. How should he go about polishing them out?
Oh, scratches. A lot depends. It's a shooting star, so it depends on how thick the canopy framing is going to be too. That could prove to be a real problem if it's got really thick canopy framing. But Infinity Models makes a polishing sanding stick set.
Yes.
And it's all like different sanding sticks that go all the way up to, I think, about 7,000 grit or something.
8,000.
8,000, is it?
Yeah, pretty sure it's 8,000.
Yeah, and you just use those. And they'll just use it like sandpaper and just slowly go down to the finer grade and it polishes up for you.
And you can
that will get rid of the scratch.
Finish off with a Tamiya polishing compound.
Yep.
And the only other recommendation
add a bit of warm soapy water to get rid of the remainder of the compound out of the grooves.
Yeah. And the other recommendation I've got for you is that when you're doing it with a canopy, if the scratches are on the outside, have something like blue tack on the inside of the canopy so that when you're pushing down and polishing it, you're not potentially going to snap it.
Yeah. The last thing you want to hear is that crack.
Yeah, there's some good videos out there on YouTube about polishing canopies, so definitely go and avail yourself of them. So thanks very much, Jaden Learman, who comes from Wisconsin, USA. Alan Daniel, hello, gents. I'm loving the show. Sorry, but this is a bit long. I've recently found the podcast and from the Plastic Posse podcast because they were recommending all the other shows. So to our horror, he started back at episode 1 and he's now up to episode 78. Now, he's saying that he recently entered his first ever model show, Mackay, which is up in Queensland, to see where his skills were sitting.
Isn't that Mackay?
Mackay, yeah. Mackay. Newcastle. Newcastle.
Get it right.
Well, anyway, he entered it in the show to see where his skills sit and also to meet like-minded people. And he had really great fun, and he even won some ribbons. With considering there's only 200 models on display, he was pretty happy with that. So he's looking forward to building for next year's show, and he's going to enter the Rocky show, which is in Feb 2022. He likes the way the judging was done, as well as the new model exhibitor section that was set up as well. Also, he mentions the Cairns Armour and Artillery Museum, which holds Armour Fest, and we actually had one of those guys in back in episode 6 or 7, I think it was.
That's right, yeah.
Curators from the museum. And he's also attached a couple of pictures of his panther as well. The panther that he stood next to, I should say, when he was up there. Yep. So that's Alan Daniel from Cairns, far north Queensland. Thanks very much, mate. Now, Brian Moss writes in. I beg your pardon, Moses writes in. Long-time listener, first-time emailer. I've just finished listening to your episode 113 and felt compelled to write an email. I've only recently discovered the world of podcasts and now can't stop listening to all the different shows revolving around scale modelling. On the Bench is my favourite, not just because I'm a fellow Aussie, but because we're entertaining and we keep his modelling mojo going.
Well, we have to.
It's a bit hard singing wines in the tank at the moment. Anyway.
Yeah, Dave, maybe you should listen to our podcast so you can regain your mojo.
Yeah. He's saying in the last episode, we're discussing the idea of bringing a completed model along to a show and having it either judged or by an experienced modeler just to look at to provide advice how to improve your skills. And he thinks that's a fantastic idea. He's not really into the modelling, the competition side of the hobby, but he wouldn't mind somebody just looking at his work and advising him on ways of improving his skills. And he says paying for the privilege wouldn't worry him either, as the advice would be invaluable. I think that's not a bad idea, and we're sort of mentioned it a couple of times, having just a display-only section. I know that they do that up in Telford with all the special interest groups. It's only mainly displays, and the competition side's fairly small. But I think the main issue there, Brian, is that the people who judge the shows have very little time anyway. So I think it would have to be a community sort of based effort to do on the day at any show. Just put kits down and have people come up and provide suggestions of how you could improve them. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, yeah, because those judges, as judging's all volunteer work anyway.
Yeah.
And so you never get a ton of people putting their hands up for it. So they're always pressed for time. But if they had like a heap of spare judges, yeah, they could throw an extra table down somewhere and people can come over and have their kit scrutinised.
Absolutely. He also asked what we do with our instruction sheets after we finish building a kit.
I keep them all. I've got a big folder. One day I'll throw them out, but at the moment I keep them all.
I throw them out because I love throwing things out.
I like throwing the boxes out when I finish the build. Get rid of the box and all the extras in the bin. Satisfying.
I kept the instructions only because when you enter them into a modelling comp, providing the instructions also helps with points.
Well, if you don't have the instructions, you automatically lose points.
Yes, that's right. So,
well, see, that's the only thing I would keep. Like, I keep them for that, and then after that, I'm like, yep, cool, it's done. It's due in competitions. I can throw the instructions out.
Yep.
Gavin Lee writes in, and Gavin hails from Toronto in Canada. First of all, I really like your podcast. I came across some paints that I think that you guys might want to try out, and they're called Scale Colours. They're specifically formulated for the ship modelist, exclusively for airbrushing. While he's a helicopter enthusiast, so he doesn't mind ship modelling too much, he hasn't tried these paints, and it's called scalecolors.com, so I might go and check them out later on. And he's also just mentioning Beacon Models with their Kickstarter, which is up. And again, yep, we've already promoted it a couple of times, but it doesn't hurt just to mention that Beacon Models are looking for supporters and pledges for the Kickstarter for their 1/44th scale Battle of Britain series that they want to do. So just go to beacon-models.com to help with that. Thanks very much, Gavin.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, that one's I've got to forward on to you. Alex writes in, hi, Dave, Ian, and Julian. I just started listening to your podcast from episode 1 in May last year after deciding to restarting modelling after a 7-year hiatus. I wanted to step up from the old Revell Airfix kits from my childhood, and your podcast was one of the first sources I found when I was doing my research. I've just caught up with the most recent episode, and to celebrate the momentous occasion, I've decided to write in and reflect on the last year, and I've attached some photos. Alex, you have sent in a huge email, and I thank you very, very much, and I've read through it, and it's a little bit too much to read out onto the show because it would take up the whole thing. I will just zero in on the advice you've asked for, in which he is saying that he's always wanted to do a build of the USS Yorktown in 1/350 scale. And he's thinking that the kit seems a bit big for him right now. Do you have any recommendations for a 1/350 kit that comes with some comprehensive PE upgrade step that would be a good stepping stone to do before he tackles the Yorktown next year?
Well, which Yorktown, CV5 or CV10?
CV5.
5. Isn't it Merit?
Yeah, that's a Merit one that makes that one. But he's looking for an intermediate kit to sort of help him sort of step up to that.
Oh, in 1/350? I don't think there is.
I'd say just bite the bullet and get the Yorktown, man.
I don't think there is. Unless you're going like different scales.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in 1/350,
no, I'd bite the bullet. Or what I would recommend you get is the Academy Oliver Hazard Perry class frigate. I know it's a modern one, but it can be built as an Aussie ship, and that's got a bit of photo etch in there, which will help you sort of start off your build. Give you that confidence for when you're moving forward to do your Yorktown.
Yeah.
So, Alex Johnson, Brisbane, Queensland, thanks very much, mate. Now, Ryan writes in, Ryan Hothsel, I think you guys are being a bit unfair on kit manufacturers in expecting every kit to be perfect. The whole point of modelling is to knock a kit into shape with some filling and sanding, etc. If you're not happy to do a bit of that, get someone else to build it for you or get a die-cast one. I also think the whinging by keyboard warriors and rivet counters probably had something to do with the recent demise of Kitty Hawk. Also, the impression I get when listening to your show is that you are building to win the next competition, and I could not build different scales and subjects like you do. That's from Ryan.
Most of my builds are not competition builds.
I've finished with competitions.
Like I wouldn't. I would not put more than, even though 48 scale is my main scale for aircraft and 35th scale is my main scale for armor. I don't really have an interest in entering anything in 35th scale armor. For 48 scale aircraft, I probably wouldn't enter anything either. I might throw something in 72nd, but generally, I'm just looking to, get my free entry. So not free entry, but
Same here, Julian.
Cheap entry. But I'm not expecting to win. Not at all.
No,
I'm not even like. You can almost not say I'm not even trying to win. I'm just trying to do the best job I can. All right. Everyone wants to make a nice model. No one wants to make bad models. And my expectations on kit manufacturers aren't even that high. It's like there are basic, there's what you would call a standard for what is expected in 2021. And that standard is far above what was the standard in 1973 or something. So when, you see kits come out that have that kind of vintage, that old style of design and manufacture, and they go together like I can't abide by that. it's not good enough.
Well, here's the thing. Look, I don't mind kit manufacturers putting out their old stuff again and again. Well, if they're going to do that, that's fine. I won't be buying it necessarily unless it's something nostalgic that I want to purchase. But where else in our consumer society do we allow and put up with mediocrity? Hell, if I go to McDonald's and buy a burger and I don't get it right, I take it back, and that's just a $5 burger. And here we're talking about model kits that are anywhere from $35, $40 up to $150, even $200. I think when I'm spending that sort of cash, I have a not unreasonable expectation that what I'm purchasing should go together correctly. And if they, as a manufacturer, cannot produce it in such a way that it goes together correctly, I mean, I don't mind a couple of little intolerances and stuff like that. But let's use Kitty Hawk as a glaring example. Their Jaguar, for example, that came with all the doors that were open on the nose and everything, and it was well known if you tried to close them up, there's just no way they would close up. If you're going to build a kit that's got errors like that, then yes, I am going to let other people know, and I am going to bag them out. How are they going to improve if they don't know they're not doing it right in the first place? And the other thing, why should my purchasing of their models fund their improvements in R&D? They should be getting it right from the get-go. Look at Bandai at the moment. Look at Wingnut Wings and the kits they produced. Look at Tamiya. Look at Zuki Mura. Heck, even Mung and some of those other manufacturers, they're producing great kits with very little sort of issues or fit issues. And yet we have a well-known manufacturer like Airfix, for example. Yes, they've got great kits and everything. But there's, for example, the one, Ian, that you're doing, the Canberra, which has got, huge warping issues. And it's funny, I came across something else on Facebook the other day where somebody else had a Canberra kit with exactly the same sort of issues to the point where it was unbuildable.
Yeah.
Things like warping.
Throwing good money away at this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, things like warping, that is just bad quality control at the end of the assembly line that should have been picked up.
Yeah.
And if that's what an issue needs to be fixed by the company, well, they need to turn around and fix it. End of story. Yeah. Yes, they might have a great return policy, but if you're having to return something because it wasn't done correctly in the first place, you've got a major issue in your company and you've got to get it fixed.
Yep.
So
yeah, maybe defund that's the refund support and put that money in quality control.
In the beginning, yeah. So I don't have a bugbear against a particular manufacturer, but I do have bugbears against manufacturers in general who are either lazy, got poor quality control, or poor engineering, and especially when they're expecting me to pay hard-earned dollars, and then actually work with the faults that they've got in their kits.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, the one thing that sort of, there's a group of modelers out there who are constantly complaining about the increased cost of kits, but those are the same people who will buy really rubbish kits all the time, right? And they seem to think that, pushing for higher levels of engineering makes the kits more expensive. Those two aren't necessarily connected like that, I mean, these things cost. It's been well established that the cardboard of the box that the kits come in costs more than the kit itself.
Well, I'll tell you now, there's another price rise coming through because the price of international shipping has quadrupled in some cases, whereas a container to get from China to, say, Europe would have cost say, this is an example, would have cost $5,000. It's now costing $20,000. Shipping's just gone through the roof at the moment. So there's all these other pressures that are pushing prices up. So it's not necessarily just the actual kit manufacturers themselves. But I'll still stand past. I mean, even when you go and buy a toaster or an electric jug, if it doesn't work, you take it back, don't you? You don't put up with it or try and fix it yourself. And then why are we having the same expectation with model kits? That's my 2 cents worth. Anyway, Ryan, thanks. Really appreciate your feedback, mate. It's good to hear from you. Thanks. Do, do, do. Good moaning, writes in Paul Redding. He's saying, well, the last episode was an episode and a half, and Julian was on peak form. While subjective, I do think the whole recommending brands to newcomers, returnees needs a little less generalisation. I came back, and look, I'll agree with what Paul's saying there. I came back to it about 6 years ago and couldn't get my head around the new brands after just knowing Airfix, Revell, and Heller when I used to build once upon a time. I built a few kits, but soon picked up the balance between price and quality, and I also have to buy online, so putting together packages to get free shipping is a great driver to do your research before you actually pull the trigger on the buy button. Anyway, so that's his 6 cents worth, and he finds that you have the best balance view between the two other guys, apparently.
Oh.
And that the learning curve is ongoing. So to say Airfix or Italy is rubbish isn't always the case. And look, I agree 100% with you, Paul. And I never have said the Airfix is rubbish. Well, I said some of the kits are rubbish. And look, I have got a real emotional attachment to Airfix because it was the first sort of kits I used to buy when I was a kid. I remember the box art. And I look at the old box art from the 70s and it just takes me right back there, you know. But
that's an important point. See, I never grew up with Airfix, so I've got no nostalgia goggles for them. Right? I grew up building 48 scale monogram kits and 48 scale Tamiya kits. So maybe my standards were fairly high from the get-go.
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly.
By the way, with this Hurricane, I actually don't mind the way that they've designed it and the way that it looks, but again, it's the quality control that has resulted in all the problems that I've had with this kit.
Thanks, Paul, from southwest of France. Much appreciate you writing in. We got a little bit of criticism in regards to the volume levels. So we did a big check with that this morning before we started. So thanks very much. That came from P.O. It's only the name he gave. So thanks for that. Like the feedback. We don't know what we don't know. So thanks for writing in. Cliff Razor writes in, hello, Dave, Ian and Julian. Discovered your podcast this winter as I was getting back into the hobby and really enjoyed listening to the podcast. It's great stuff. Definitely filled the void this winter because between ice fishing and fat biking. What the hell's fat biking, man?
Fat biking?
Yeah, F-A-T.
I think of fat biking, and it just reminds me back, was it the early 80s? You had those two big fat guys in the American Texas hats on, riding little mini bikes.
Oh, that was on the album cover of Fat Boy Slim.
Yeah,
Wasn't
yes.
it? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. That just, yeah, that.
Okay. So fat biking is mountain bike on snow, and they have very fat wheels.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds dangerous.
Well, no,
it's not anything we would know about because there's not a whole lot of snow up here.
No.
Well, if you do it in the snow, at least it's soft when you land in it, comparatively.
Well, you'd hope so. But what's hidden underneath the snow?
I don't know. Oh, jeez. Anyway, he's wondering if he could provide some advice. He recently came across a photo of a B-25 Mitchell water bomber that was stationed in Cranbrook, British Columbia in 1960. Cliff currently lives in Cranbrook and must admit he was quite taken by the photos as they were all in colour. So he liked it so much he decided to purchase a Hasegawa 1/72nd scale B-25J kit in the hope of modifying it to the water bomber that he's seen in the photo. But what it requires is to remove the top turret. And he's looking for some advice on filling the top turret after he doesn't build it. Actually use the turret. And he's also looking for advice on stencils for the actual markings of the Wen Air Company aircraft logo. I first of all would go, there's a special interest group on Facebook that is devoted to water bombers. So you'd find some great references and information there. So give that a quick look. In regards to filling the top turret so that it doesn't...
I'd be cutting a circle out of styrene.
And just mounting it in there.
Mount it in there, yep.
With some stringers underneath to support it.
Yeah, just a couple of little tabs.
Yep.
About 4 little tabs.
Yep, that's what I was thinking too.
And then just drop it in there, glue it in place, a bit of putty, sand it, and then you can re-screw it. Because it's styrene, you'll be able to re-scribe the panel line. Being Hasegawa will be scribed.
Yep. Or you can leave them as they are.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to say, I'd have to have a look at the actual real aircraft. It could just have maybe you might have a square panel bot riveted to the top.
Yeah, may well do. All right, that's from Cliff from Cranbrook, British Columbia. Thanks for that,
but the markings will be the fun bit.
Yeah, markings will be.
Yeah, especially in 70-second scale.
Decals for him.
Yeah, I hope he's got nothing white. Yeah, but it sounds like a cool project, though.
Yeah, it does. David Waples writes in, listen to your latest podcast and discussion about the new squadron. We also discussed this during our ship club meeting on Sunday, and several members were involved in the resin ship kits. Chris Decker didn't have anything to do with free time hobbies. He's pretty well known in the model ship world, and he started the now defunct midship models, making 1700 ship kits, which you can still find on eBay. I never bought one of these myself, but he also founded a web-based company called Knot Models, spelled Knot, which I'd never heard of before, but apparently he's still active, and he's dabbling in a lot of different things over the years. But these are the only modelling ventures that we could find. He also has an MBA in entrepreneurship. They sent out an email today announcing they were open for business. We said the same thing that you guys did. We shall see what comes of it. Thanks for what you do, guys. Take care. So, look, all our best wishes for the new relaunching of Squadron. Yeah. I've got high hopes that it works. It's got a very nostalgic brand name, particularly in the US. Look, we really do wish them all the best, and hope that they've learnt from where they went wrong before.
And onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hope that because I know that North America is kind of lacking for like online modeled retailers, and they could really use a good company.
Yeah,
like that fills that void.
Yeah, because we've got B&A down here, and you just really can't go past them.
Yeah, B&A goes to the world though.
Yeah. Well, so did Squadron.
Yep. Sean Vale Rhodes writes in, hey benchers, greeting once again from the great state of Virginia. We hope you're all able to ride out the bad weather and are no worse for wear. Well, thanks for that, Sean. I'm just really tired and weary, but I'm on my days off at the moment, so it's good. Anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts about the recent closing of Kitty Hawk and Panda. Honestly, I, for one, don't feel like I'll miss them. While Kitty Hawk always seems to come up with interesting subjects, their fit, finish, and quality control always seemed lacking, to say the least. Thoughts?
I built a few of their kits, and yeah, they weren't a whole lot of fun. I mean, I built their better ones. I built their chopper, what was the name of it? The AH-1Z Viper. And their helicopter kits were supposedly better than their other kits, than their other aircraft kits. Now that they're closed, and I'm sort of looking, maybe I should buy some of those before they're unobtainium. I was thinking of maybe buying their F9F Panther. No, Panther or Cougar? The Cougar, yeah. The Cougar. Sorry, I like the swept wings one. But I've heard so many problems of that kit. I've heard that people have an enormous difficulty getting that kit together.
Well, Sean relates a story from when he was at a model show, and he said he tried to speak to one of their reps at a model show, and they always acted like you were bothering him if you weren't singing Kitty Hawk's praises. He was actually told by a rep at one of the model show in Richmond a few years back that he wanted to discuss the issues that he'd had with their 148 F101 and their Meg 25. The rep turned around and said to him the kits were designed for professional modelers.
Right. Sounds a bit arrogant.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, a rep wouldn't necessarily, probably just somebody paid spokesman, so he wouldn't necessarily probably be a builder. Who knows?
Yeah.
But look, I'm sad that Kitty Hawk and Panda have gone because Kitty Hawk did release some really cool stuff. It just seemed that, you know, they just were struggling to get the engineering side of it correct. And it's a pity because there was so many interesting sort of subjects. Like you said, the early US Navy jets and helicopters they were doing. There's no one else sort of touching or looking at that side of things. So
I wanted to. I was looking forward to maybe buying that alligator Russian chopper that they were going to be releasing, but got cancelled when they finished up.
Mm.
Hopefully that ends up in someone else's hands and I still get to build it.
Mm.
That's all we can hope for when these companies go under, isn't it? I mean, we're all sitting there going, "Oh, I hope someone else makes it."
Well, you know what? It might be interesting. I mean, the molds will probably turn up under some other branding name. No doubt they'll probably be sold off.
Oh, I hope so, because there's like an aftermarket conversion for an Atelier kit, because it's mostly the same as another chopper, but they completely redid the nose. And that looks like a terrible conversion. Oh, that looks diabolical.
Get to the chopper. All right, nearly finished with the mailbag. A couple more to go. Harold writes in and says, I'm brand new to the hobby. I started to build in February this year.
Wow.
I took your advice from some of your early episodes and joined my local IPMS club. Well done, Harold. So far, I've not really found what I'm interested in building, and I have had a dabble in planes, boats, and a few cars, and also a Gundam robot. This Sunday, I'm heading off to a show in Kansas City. He's not yet really found his painting style, and he's still using rattle cans and brushes. Just to let you know, I've really enjoyed the show and appreciate everything you guys do. Harold, all I can say is well done in joining IPMS and also a local club. Keep just touching different things. You'll find what you eventually have a passion for, and you'll probably build that exclusively as you move forward. And when you can afford it, upgrade from a rattle can and try and get yourself an airbrush, because it will really blow your mind.
Yeah.
There are many other genres that he hasn't touched on, and war gaming type stuff, Warhammer. Well, there's other things in there that I can't remember. Like, I know you just mentioned it like less than a minute ago, but I've already forgotten. But there's nothing to say that you can't be a generalist.
No, that's right.
I mean, we tend to be more generalist than most.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of mail. So thanks very much for everybody for writing in. Of course, if you want to write in, we love hearing from you. You can send us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com. In the meantime, let's have a break, and we'll be back with some news from the Falcon.
Cool.
Whether you build aircraft, armour, ships, science fiction, cars or figures, the Fine Scale Modeler magazine provides the how-to information you need to take your modelling to the next level. In each issue of Fine Scale Modeler, you'll find clear how-to features on model assembly and finishing written by experts, reviews of the hottest model kits and products, tips and techniques for assembling, painting and finishing, as well as inspiring photos of readers' models. To find out how you can get your copy of Fine Scale Modeler, go to www.finescale findscale.com. Okay, and welcome back to the show. And we have got some news from the Falcon as to what's happening in the modelling world. The Falcon writes in, "Hi Dave, Ian and Julian. Let's start with aircraft news. Hobby Boss will be releasing a 1/72nd scale Lockheed U-2A Dragon Lady in late July."
Oh, it's a U2.
Ooh.
Wow. 72 scale, that'd be a big wingspan.
There would be. Hobby
Well,
Boss.
it's not as big as the 48 scale one that comes from AFV Club.
Yeah.
Hobby Boss have finally released their 1/48 scale Levision LA-11 Fang. The kit was announced way back in 2015, so it's been quite a while.
Is that a Lavochkin?
Yes, there is Lavochkin. Thank you, Ian. The kit has markings for Soviet, Chinese, and North Korean aircraft. The already announced Hobby Boss 48 scale MI-24V is slated for release in July. Armour Model Group will be releasing another version of their 48 scale Fairy Flycatcher. This time we will get a Fairy Flycatcher on metal floats. The metal float part is quite specific, makes you think a Flycatcher on wooden floats is also in the offing. Brengun have announced 48 scale Extra 300 aerobatic aircraft. We can expect that release later this year. And the Falcon's also saying there'll probably be some multiple boxings.
There'll be lots of colour schemes.
Dora Wings have already announced their 1/48 scale Curtis Wright AT9 Jeep, and they have now confirmed that there will be a 1/72nd scale version as well, which should make those of you who build in 1/72nd scale quite happy. Dora Wings have just released the C version of their 1/48 scale Lockheed Vega 5. The 5B is an impressive kit, but for my money, the marking options for the 5C are much more attractive and possibly one to look out for. Wingsy Kit's 48 scale Messerschmitt ME 109E-3 will be released in July, and we are starting to see reviews coming for the E1 kit, and they have been extremely positive. Looks like Wingsy's 48 109E is the E everyone was hoping for. Well, there you go.
Good to hear.
Armour Hobby soon to release the F4F-4 version of their 1/72nd scale Grumman Wildcat family. This is the one most people have been waiting for, and the Expert Set kit will contain markings for 6 aircraft, 5 US Navy and 1 Fleet Air Arm. Very cool.
So you get to build a martlet.
Yeah. Modelled Svitz 72nd scale Dassault Mirage 3 CJ in the next couple of months will be followed by the Mirage 3O, which is the Aussie version later in this year, 1/72nd scale. Woohoo! That'll be good. Hobby 2000 from Poland will release 2 limited edition kits of the ex-Hasegawa 1/48 scale Orado AR234B-2, the first jets at the end of the war. 48 scale, that'd be a nice big kit, actually. LF models the downscaling their 48 and 72nd scale Augusta Bell 47J Ranger family to 1/44th scale, which is going to be tiny, man.
Yeah.
Whirlybird models are hoping to produce a 1/48 scale injection molded kit of the Sikorsky S-52 HO5S. Once they have that, once they have done that, the manufacturers have done the costings and will set up a Kickstarter page and take things from there, apparently. So it'll be interesting to see. Armour and Military. Armour Model Group have announced a 1/72nd scale ZSU-4-23 Schilke. Amusing Hobby are expanding their range of 1/35th scale T72s with a T72 AV. Like the others, it will have a full interior. The I Love Kit brand have announced 2 new 1/35th scale kits. The German Rheinmetall Borsig Waffenträger, a World War II project that never came to anything but is a popular vehicle in the world of tanks. And there's also going to be a M3A1 US medium tank, Lee, the version with the cast hull. Apparently it's a new tool, and I think this is the first time we've ever seen a 35th scale kit of the Lee variants. And I think that he's probably quite right there. Italy have announced a new 35th scale Panzer IV OS FH. Be warned, it's not really a new tool. It's just their old kit with some new mould revisions and new parts. There is also another 1/35th scale T34-85 being released by Mini-Art. It is the model 1960. Decal options will cover Soviet, North Vietnamese, Rhodesian, Afghan and Yemeni vehicles. The kit does not have parts for the interior.
There should be lots of paint schemes in that one, different colours.
Yeah, I can hardly hear you there, Ian.
I said there'd be a lot of different coloured paint schemes in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps the biggest military vehicle area has been Gecko Models 1/35th scale Austin K2-Y ambulance. Gecko spokesman was at pains to point out the kit has absolutely nothing to do with the Catty ambulance that is coming from Airfix. There will be at least 3 boxings. The first will be a limited edition special boxing, which will include the figure of Her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth and markings for the vehicle she drove in late World War II, and markings for the 2-wheel drive version, which was used in the film Ice Cold in Alex. Never saw that film. I've got no idea what it's about.
I've got it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. Yeah. There will also be boxings for early and late vehicles. The early has markings for the BEF in France in 1940, 2 Western Desert examples, and another one that was used in Sicily. The late boxing will include marking options for 4 vehicles, 3 in military service and 1 in civilian, all in northwestern Europe, 1944-45. The breakdown of the kit suggests we might see the K2 lorry in the future. And finally, rounding off in science fiction, AMT Round 2 have announced a 72nd scale version of the Razor Crest. Woohoo!
Another one.
This is the way. No one seems to know at this stage if it's related to the 72nd scale Razor Crest recently announced by Revell Germany. If they are separate projects, it won't be a disaster for either company, as you would think there'll be plenty of room in the market. Star Wars nerds seem to be crying out for a decent size Razor Crest.
I wonder if it'll end up like that whole. Remember when it was? We're going to be getting an F-14 Tomcat from both Tamiya and AMG, and everyone was pinning their hopes on the AMG kit because apparently the Tamiya kit wasn't. Wing configuration or something wasn't quite what they wanted. And then the AMG one came out and everyone was disappointed by it.
We'll have to wait and see, but I'm definitely been in the market for a 72nd scale Razor Crest. There's no Razor Crest.
Oh, the more the merrier.
Yeah, there's. I just love the polished sort of finish to it, and I'm really keen to have a crack at that. That's all from the Falcon. You guys got any news about new stuff in the modelling world?
No.
Nah.
I don't have anything. No.
No, I'm the same.
Come to the table empty today.
100 episodes deep, and you ask us this like every single episode, and we never have anything to share.
Well, that's because the Falcon does such a great job.
Yeah.
From his secret nest somewhere.
Yep.
I was going to say cave, but yeah, nest is more appropriate.
Well, a falcon wouldn't be in a cave. That's a bat.
You'd be in an airy.
Yeah, an airy. That sounds like a good idea. Let's move on and have a chat now about our headline topic, selling your kits.
Yep. You're thinking of selling some kits off, Dave?
No, I thought it was just an interesting subject to talk about because, what do you do with your old kits? And one of them is what you can do is you can flog them off. And then that leads
Built
to...
or unbuilt?
Oh, built. We're talking about built.
Oh, built kits.
Yeah. So that then leads to the question, well, then do you go down the road of perhaps, building on, kits for people who've actually asked you to build them, or do you specifically build to sell? Each one comes with its own pitfall and mistake and issues and problems. I, for one, have only ever sold one kit after I built it. Mm-hmm. And it was the 1/350 scale ship. It was a USS Perry style frigate, which I built as an Australian one. And I had seller's remorse after I sold it because I did a really good job on that kit. And
your next one will be better.
Well, see, here's the thing. I was a bit burnt by it because the person I sold it to, we agreed on the price. And the price was the actual cost of the kit. So it was about $70.
Yep.
And then the person said to me, I'll pay you half now and half later. Well, they paid me $35 for it up front. And it took me months to get the other $35 off them. And it just really soured me completely to selling kits off.
Yeah, I can imagine that. That would sour me off. But then again, I say that would sour me off, but realistically, I wouldn't sell a kit for only that much.
Well, you're opening another door there, Julian, to another part of it. With how much do you price a kit to sell for? Because
how much are you worth an hour?
Yeah, there's no way you will ever recover the cost of what you put into it.
No, never.
Well,
people would never pay for a kit if you put your labour correctly.
Because I'd rate myself at about anywhere for kit building, anywhere between, I don't know, $30 an hour, $40 an hour.
You're cheap.
But, you're looking at putting in, at least 30 hours. So that's a big swag of money to ask somebody. I mean, there are people out there who are willing to pay it. But the other thing, too, is what if you build it and it's not up to the standard of the person you're selling it to?
And you're stuck with it.
That's up to them. I mean, they have to be the one. If they're buying something unseen, then that's a risk they're taking on, right?
Yes.
I mean, I get it where you might have a kit in a show, for example, either on display or in a competition, and somebody walks past and says, "Hey, dude, that's really cool. Can I buy that off you?" And then you come to an agreed price because then and there they can see what they're buying, but. If somebody comes up to you and asks for a commission build, they'd have to be pretty switched on to what your level of build quality is before they'd sort of pull the trigger on that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And I, for myself, I would be always very nervous about being able to sort of live up because I'm my worst critic. I really am. And so I'd hate to sort of, and that's the whole reason why I don't think I'd ever build on commission because there's no way I could ever meet the expectations of the person that I'm selling the kit for $400.
Yep.
And then there's the other thing is just getting rid of your kits by, flogging them off for just, acorn sort of amount of money.
Well, before you sell yourself short, I suggest you go on eBay and see what people are flogging themselves for on there. Because you'll see kits go for quite a ridiculous amount of money. And they'll say, "Oh, Master Modeler built," and you look at it and like, well, that's a pretty mediocre looking kit.
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen it a few times and you think, oh, okay. A Master Modeler at 5 years old.
That's one way to put it. The thing is, I can't be bothered selling my kits unless it's in person. I don't want to have. I can't be bothered putting it in a box, making sure it won't get squashed, and then going down and I work for Australia Post. So like, it's not like I would have to actually go out of my way. I could just do it at work, you know, to send something off. But even then, I'm too lazy.
Yeah, that is scam.
You'd have to go online, make a thing, and list it on eBay. Nah, I can't be bothered doing all that.
Yeah, I agree. It's too much work. But there are some people.
Well, it's too much work for me.
But there are some people out there who have made a really comfortable sort of living out of it. You know, our good mate Russ French, who was on episode 1.
Yeah, but that's a different kettle of fish. That's ship model building. You can ask big money for ships.
But he just doesn't do ships. He also does armor, aircraft. He does special things like weapons. But mind you, his market is more aimed at the industry and the top end enthusiast collector.
Yep. But what I found generally, if you're going to do modeling and you're only going to do it for money, do ships. People pay big money for decent ship models.
I think another factor is you got to take your passion out of it. You got to go completely.
You got to become clinical.
Yeah, you got to stick to a schedule. So I'm going to finish the hull by this time. I'm going to finish the turret by this time. You know, it's going to be painted within X number of hours, because if you let yourself get, you know, run down the rabbit hole and end up going too far, then, you know, you're blowing out your budget, you know. Imagine like your local government, and they're building a bridge or something, and then you hear on the news, oh, budget blowout, it's going to cost us another X number of millions more dollars. That's you. You know, you're doing it to yourself. Except no one's going to be willing to pay you more money.
No, that's right. They've agreed at the price.
But Ian, you've done more commission builds than any three of us. You've done quite a few, actually.
Yeah.
Is it something you're still sort of doing? Is it something you want to continue doing in the future?
Not really. Look, if I build something and someone offers me money for it and I like the price, once it's finished, then I'll consider it. I just found, but by trying to do it as like a money getter, it started sucking the joy out of it.
Yeah.
Really started sucking the joy. It became more a job than a hobby.
Yep.
And as we discussed earlier, is people aren't willing to pay for your time. But they look at a kit and they go, oh, that's a nice aeroplane. I'll give you $20 for it. Well, I'm sorry, but the kit cost me $60 and I spent that amount of hours on it too. I'm not doing it to throw away money. You don't do it, you got to make money. I remember when I finished the Shikaku, someone in America offered me about $5,000 for it, and I had to pass because there was no way I was going to safely think of getting that thing shipped over to the States.
Well, man, for $5,000, you could have bought an airplane ticket and sat it on your lap,
dropped it off,
flooded across.
Yes. But that was a good money maker.
Yeah,
something like that. I spent just in materials was $1,200. But then again, that was the hours on top of it too. So you can't really put the hours in.
No, that's right. And that's where it comes down, I guess. It's quite difficult, you know, because something I've been noticing in recent times, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's been a lot of sort of people who used to be either ex-military or whatever. They're going, oh, gee, it'd be nice for me to have a model of, you know, my M113, for example, that I used to drive when I was in the Army, or my tank that I used to drive in the Army, or my aircraft I used to work on when I was an aircraft fitter in the Air Force. So there's lots of those sort of requests starting to bubble up and get around as that generation starts to get towards the twilight of their life. Or even as
the twilight when they retire from the
yeah, when they retire from the service, or even as they get older, you know, people sort of saying, oh, gee, Dad, well, look at me. I built that kit for my dad of the Dingo, and, you know, he was wrapped with that. And there are people out there who aren't model builders, but their parents have either served or worked on a particular aircraft or whatever, be it, you know, a civil airliner, for example, and they're looking for people that they can buy a representative kit to give to their parent as a gift. And there's a bit of that popping up on Facebook, and you always come across it in Facebook. Right? Anybody here do commission builds, for example?
Yep.
And, man, I look at that and I just shiver. I go, ooh.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
No.
No.
Look, if you were retired, maybe.
No, even if I was retired, I wouldn't be able to do it, man. No way.
No.
Well, see, here's the thing, right? A lot of this is boiling down to how much you get paid. Assuming someone would actually pay you an appropriate amount that would make you happy, you'd probably do it, because then you'd be like, well, I didn't really want to do this, but they offered me the right price, and so here I am doing it.
Yep.
Right? And at that point, you probably wouldn't kill your mojo too much, because at least you got a big pile of money out of it.
Yes.
I do remember Will Pattinson. He had to, well, he didn't have to, but I mean, he took on a commission build for a B-25 because someone saw the B-25 he did, liked what it was, and they were prepared to offer him a lot of money for it. And he said that he didn't want to do it, but he priced it high enough that he took it on.
Yep.
I think he said that he priced it high enough to discourage them from asking it of him, and they did it anyway, something along those lines, and that sounds like the ideal scenario, to be honest. And Will Pattinson would know how to
Price himself.
Absolutely, in a professional sense, because I know he works as a photographer in some capacity, and so that anyone who does graphic design or any kind of freelance work, they know how to price their time for projects like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. See, I'd. Here's the other thing too. If somebody asked me to build something, unless I'm interested in it, I'd really struggle to get enthused about it, and that's why I'm really scared about the Musaru Cup. I mean, if they choose some model that I've got no interest in, how am I going to get the enthusiasm to actually go and build it?
Yeah, and also, depending on what the subject matter is, the only kit maybe you got to work with is a complete dog.
Mm.
Well, I had that. Well, my last ever commission job I'd do a 56 Chev in custom colours, and it was a 124 or 125th scale Revell kit, and it was a dog of a kit. I mean, it was old. It was a very old car kit, and I struggled for the whole thing. And the greatest thing was actually handing the box over and just watching it go out the door. I didn't care about the money anymore. It was just get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to remember that, as hobbyists, we've always got our eye on some project in our stash, and to be able to sort of go, you know what, I can't do that. I have to do this thing that I don't want to do.
Or you got to you got to do things that normally are wrong. Years ago, I had to do a 132nd scale TA 152, German Focke-Wulf 152 late war high altitude fighter, and I can't remember the brand name, but it was a shocker of a kit. It was basically their version of a D9 with a few extra resin bits that were short shot. And the customer and the kit color call out for the spinner was red with the white spiral, whereas the TA 152s, that squadron, they all had light green spinners, but this customer wanted it red. Wow. And that was the hardest thing, is knowing the color is wrong for that particular aircraft, but having to lay it down.
Well,
yeah, that comes back around to taking your emotions out of it. You have to
exactly. That's where I had to become clinical.
Yeah.
Mm.
And this guy had a heap of more kits for me to build, and I said, thank you, but no thank you, I'm done.
Mm. Can you remember what you charged him for that particular kit?
No, but I remember it took me about 3 months before I finally got some money out of it.
See, that's the other issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless you get yourself set up.
At least I didn't let the kit go till I had the money, though.
Yeah.
No way. But yeah, if you're up to it, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
But if you got any sort of doubts or you're not comfortable, don't do it. Not worth it.
Julian, what about you? Have you ever done one, commission?
No. The closest I come is I'll just build things for friends, you know. Oh, can you build me one of these, or can you paint this for me? Yeah, I'll paint it for you.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's what I did recently with that Spitfire. I had a spare to me, a Spitfire I wanted to get rid of.
Mm.
I just built it and gave it to me boss. He was wrapped. He collects cars and stuff for his little die-cast cars for his cabinet. He likes his machines and he appreciates the hobby. So, well, if he likes it, he can have it.
Now he's got a Spitfire sitting there next to all his car models.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes a very special kind of person to say, yeah, I'm quite happy to sort of step into the world of commission model building. I know it is also a big thing in the wargaming area where people will paint armies for you.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people out there making some good coin out of doing that. But for me, this is my hobby, man. This is where I come to relax and chill out. This is where I de-stress. I don't want to make it like another job. I don't want to have time pressures or expectation pressures put on me by other people. If I've built something and you see it at a show, yeah, sure, come up and maybe suggest or offer me some dollars for it, and I'll consider it if it's not something I want to hang on to. But there's no way I'm going to sort of put myself out there and say, hey, hang a shingle up and say, yeah, I'm open for business now. I'll build anything you want.
There's a school of thought of people who get into these sort of things sometimes where they're like, oh, I'll get better at this thing that I want to do and someone will pay me to do it because I'll be able to work on projects that they're going to give me.
Right.
You know, like, for example, a friend of mine, he decided he was getting into motorbikes and wrenching on motorbikes, and he decided, it'd be cool. I'll fix up these things and sell them. And, it's like, that's not the right way to go about it.
Dude, that is the same attitude of plastic manufacturers putting out crappy kits, and we're paying for them to improve on their technical abilities by buying the crappy kits in the first place. See what I'm saying? I'm not going to be the monetary research and development and technical improvement part of that company by paying them for something that's not up to scratch to begin with. And what you just mentioned, Julian, where people are saying, I'll do commission stuff to help me improve my build qualities. Man, I wouldn't want to be in the receiving end of one of them.
No.
And like as a consumer, I wouldn't want to be the guy on the other end either. Because like, let's say you like one of the most common commission type things I hear about is Warhammer. Like people will pay someone to paint like a Warhammer army up for them. And, like assuming it all goes well, you're going to see like a significant difference in quality between the stuff that they'd started with and the stuff they ended it with.
Mm.
Like the miniatures they paint at the start are going to be of a lower quality than ones that they did last.
What you'll find, Julian, it'll go up like a hill. It'll start off like half up decent, and it'll go really good quality until he gets to the point where, oh shit, I've still got around another 30 or 40 of these figures to paint. And then you watch your quality drop down again.
Yeah. I mean, either that or, he'll actually sort of, push himself through it and be consistent to some degree all the way through it. And then it'll take, 5 years for it to be completed.
Yeah. And by that stage, the customer's moved on.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect example of how you really have to deaden your emotions for that sort of a job.
Yeah.
Because you have to go, you know what? If I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to airbrush all of them as much as possible and then come in and just doing very basic detail painting across like all of them,
Yeah.
I can't afford to like spend each time on each one and turn each one into like a masterpiece. It's not going to happen.
No.
Never get it done.
Exactly.
No, man, this is my hobby, and this is where it's going to stay. There's no way this little black duck is doing any commission builds again ever in the future.
Well, I'll never say never.
Commission builds, I'll never say never. I will say never.
Look, if someone offers me stupid money to do something, yeah, well, I'll probably say yes.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to the fact.
Go out on a limb and say I'm open for business. No, not a chance.
And I guess I'm in a fortunate position where I don't need the money to build. You know what I mean, man?
Yeah.
Or to fund my hobby. I'm lucky enough. I've got enough sort of spare income that I can go and enjoy my hobby without having to sort of worry about where the next dollar's coming from.
Correct.
Luckily.
Yep.
Mark.
Fully agree.
Yeah, I don't have that sort of a worry. No. And like I think a big part of my hobby, well, and a lot of people for this hobby is not having to spend, so not having to scrutinize the dollars to that degree, right? Because if you did, you wouldn't have as big a stash as you do, and everyone's got too big of a stash.
But the other side of the coin too, we constantly forget this, is that the non-modelling public are pretty dumb when it comes to what a good model is and what a good model isn't. And so you can probably get by with just building a mediocre sort of kit, especially if you're just building like a tank or something like that. And by and large, the person you're selling it to, unless they've got a real intimate knowledge of that particular subject, they would know a bad kit if you hit them over the head with it against a good kit.
Mm. Yeah, I know.
But whereas we as modelers do know the difference.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because I think the non-modeling public, a lot of them would actually prefer a clean build. No weathering.
Yes, I think you're right there. Yeah, 100%.
And the ones that do want weathering, their idea of weathering is so overdone that most of us would consider it too much.
Mm.
Yeah, that's where you got to just start to, just do what the customer wants. Bite your cheek and do it.
Yep. But then, like I said, man, it's not fun anymore. Why would you do that? Come on. Yeah. Modeling's supposed to be fun. It's called a hobby for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah. But specifically within the confines of what we're talking about, it's no longer a hobby.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Lordy dildy. What are you going to do?
Yep.
All right. I think I've just about exhausted anything else I've got to say on that particular subject. How about you guys?
Yeah, me too, mate.
Yeah, I'm done.
Beautiful. Let's check out, shall we?
I think we shall.
Before we do, though, I just need to let the listeners know that because of we just come out of lockdown in Melbourne, but the restrictions are still in place that we can't all be in the same room. So apologies again. I've tried to get the sound quality to be as best as I can. But next episode, we will all be in the same room again.
Fingers crossed.
You guys will be able to have a nice Michelle cooked breakfast waiting for you with some fresh coffee.
You're not going to cook breakfast.
Well, okay, I cook the breakfast. Michelle buys it. I just cook it. I cook the breakfast. So
yeah.
Nice
continental breakfast.
Nice hot coffee waiting for you, freshly brewed.
Sounds great.
All right, Julian, sign off.
I don't know, man. You always put this. I never think about this ahead of time, and you put me on the spot.
Episode 114, dude. Come on.
I have a newfound respect for Tamiya Putty.
Oh.
It's one of those, full circle kind of things.
Do tell. Well, how did you come to this? Were you walking along and one fell at the sky and hit you on the head, or what?
Well, I just got, because, obviously with this Airfix kit, I can't afford to use super glue because if I do, then I'll be spending forever sanding down this super glue. Mm. Meanwhile, the rest of the models are disappearing beneath my sanding stick with that soft plastic. So, everything has its place. And, Tamiya Putty has its place for when you build Airfix kits, I guess.
Yep. It's nice and soft like their plastic.
Ian.
Photo, which is your friend.
Thanks very much, guys. We'll be back in a fortnight. In the meantime, enjoy your hobby and enjoy the build. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.